Hey everybody, it is Quicken and welcome back to Tattoo Talk Tuesday. So if this is your first time joining us on the Quicken channel for Tattoo Talk Tuesday is our weekly interactive talk show where I take viewer submitted questions and try to lend my experience to you guys as a tattoo collector. So today I spent all morning at the doctor's office and I look like this because you can just not get ready after you spend all day in the doctor's office. But, it had me thinking about my mortality, thinking about death. It reminded me of a question that I got last week, which was, can you talk about cremation tattoos? So today I'm going to bring you all the information I was able to gather, some tattoo artists, words of wisdom, and shops where you can get this procedure done. So what is cremation tattoos? So I was only familiar with this concept more in body modification world. So before I got my scarification, some of you guys may know that I have scarification on my ribs. Before I got my scarification procedure done, I was doing a ton of research and I actually found a girl who had a scarification procedure done to commemorate her dog. So I don't know if you guys kind of remember, if you are on BMEzine, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So this girl had scarification procedure, a design in her skin made with a scalpel, and then she had the ashes of her dog put into the scarification, I believe it was on her chest, and then healed over with the ashes inside. And every day she would rub ashes into her scars as they healed in order to have a very specific healed look, but also, be one with her dog's ashes. When I had my scarification done, I wanted it to be very subtle, so although I had heard of this route, putting ashes or dirt or other things in your scarification to have them heal a certain way, mine healed very subtle and white. However, her story has always stuck out to me. Never have I ever put it together though that you could put ashes in the ink of your tattoo in order to be like a memorial tattoo. Whatever you put into your tattoo ink to make it that color, a lot of tattoo inks far and wide, currently and previously, were made with this method of ashes. So while I was doing my research, a lot of stuff kind of said that ashes mixed in with the ink is kind of seamless. But if you wanted this procedure done, a lot of the questions I had would be like, isn't it kind of powdery? Like when you try to put cinnamon in coffee, it just sticks on the top. So it was from there, I had a ton of questions and I decided to reach out to tattoo artists, because what is any of this without research other than a show that is very strongly based on just my opinion and experiences. So before we get into that, I had to ask myself, is this something I would ever want done? Is this something that is very common? Do I know any single person with this? So I went to Twitter and I had a Twitter poll, and I only set it for an hour. So let's see what the Twitter poll says right now. As of an hour ago, I asked, would you consider getting a tattoo using ink that was created with the ashes of a significant other's cremation? And you can see on there that 56% of people said no, and 44% of people said yes. In my opinion, that's pretty close. But I think, this is a tattoo that is very sentimental, a very strongly memorial associated tattoo. I think that I'm not the best person to ask because, knock on wood, no one's significant. I've never lost anyone truly significant to me. By significant other, I didn't mean like boyfriend, girlfriend. I meant like grandma, neighbor, cat, dog, any person who held significant value to you. If they chose to be cremated and you were to come into their ashes, what would you do with it? There's so many options out there. You can use ashes to plant a tree. You can have them crushed into a diamond. Is that affordable? You could sprinkle them in the ocean. But a lot of people, they leave instructions for their ashes. Sprinkle me in the ocean, bring me over to the field I like, put me in the garden. Do you devalue their request if you decide, I'm going to take this ash and put it in my tattoo? When I was calling around, I called the tattoo shop Mark My Flesh. You may remember them from the Friday the 13th video, and I spoke to John again, and I said, how common are these tattoos?
Hey, I was calling with a question. I was wondering if you do cremation tattoos? Like, mixing the ashes from a cremation into a tattoo for a memorial tattoo? Okay. Oh, can I actually ask you how that went?
And he said that they're not super common, that he's probably only ever done 15 total. And he said that more commonly than anything, it's not an animal, which I thought, my dog, my cat. He said more commonly in his experience with the 15 tattoos he's done, it's a husband who's lost a wife.
Like animal ashes? Oh. Okay.
And I thought that was really strong. Because when I called, I was like, oh yeah, people getting their cats and their tattoos. And he said, no, it's more than anything, he tattoos husbands who have lost their wife. And I thought that was really strong and not something I could relate to because I've never lost someone so significant. And although I can sit here now and be like, I don't know how I feel about it, it sounds kind of weird. I don't know how powerful that feeling is, so I don't really understand that kind of grieving. A lot of the comments associated with the Twitter poll said that they would get a memorial tattoo, but not necessarily a tattoo that contained the ink because the body is with you always. I have only ever cremated one cat, and it was a group cremation, and they just gave us a little bit of it. So I don't even know, would that even be your whole cat? Would you still want it? Or would you just want to sprinkle it somewhere and celebrate privately? My grandparents, their dog passed away, and they used some of the ashes to plant a tree, and then they save the rest in like a chest, and they keep it. And they love this dog, they had a blanket made of the dog, an image, not the dog, an image blanket dog. They love this thing. But I can tell you that they would never get a tattoo of this fucking dog. So who will do these tattoos? When I started off with this idea, I was like, nobody does these. I can't tell you a single person who does these tattoos. And boy, was I wrong.
Hey, I was wondering if I could ask a question? Well, do you guys do, I guess, cremation tattoos where you bring in the cremation and you mix it with the ink for like a memorial tattoo? Is that something you guys have done before? Okay. Yeah, very tragic. Oh my god. And do you know if there's any risk with the healing, or, okay, is that something she commonly does? Is it like tattoo artist preference?
Out of the 7 tattoo shops I called, basically all of them, except one who didn't pick up the phone, said that they would do these tattoos. Every single tattoo shop I called, it was case by case. But some of them, I called Mark My Flesh, and I was like, hey, do you do these? And he said, yes, right away. And I said, are there any complications related with getting this tattoo kind of procedure? And he said, when he does them, he only does the ash in the line work. So you would have to get a tattoo that has black line work and maybe, a traditional tattoo that has the strong black lines. You could get a little ash mix in there. But he said that the tattoos that he does have to have bold lines in order to accommodate this. He said only one of them healed weird, and I asked him, do you think that was an error from the person healing the tattoo? And he said that could be possible. Other tattoo shops I called, they said yes right away. I did call Art Machine Productions, which is in Philadelphia, and I said, hey, do you do these tattoos? And the guy said, yes, we do them. However, only bring the smallest amount of ash that you can bring. He said, bringing more ash can only cause complications. He said somebody came once and spilled it everywhere. He said it was tragic. So his advice to anybody who might be seeking these tattoos is to bring just like a tiny little baggie might be weird traveling around with this little thing. He said you can only do a little tiny bit in the ink anyway. So really all of it is like, I don't want to say novelty, but the entire ink is not mixed with the ash. It's just like a teeny little bit that goes in there. When I spoke to him, he said that they use all vegan inks in their shop. So mixing a little bit of this into the black, you know, he said it should be fine. And that inks before they were vegan were made with materials like this, which I didn't know. So that was cool of him to talk to me on the phone and explain that to me. And then I told him, I'm actually just doing research. Like me, I expected to hear no, and I didn't. But I did speak to someone who said we have one specialist. If you go to Nokoi, her name is Rebecca, and she will do them for you, but not other people. And I think that that's really interesting because I think it definitely is tattoo artist's choice and not something you can primarily expect. All of the shops I called are walk-in shops. So I would say if you have a special tattoo artist who is appointment only, you would have to include that and, you know, expect them to potentially say no. Most of these people said yes. I was surprised. But when I did call Rose Tattoo, they did say that in their 3 years of business, no one has ever come in asking for that tattoo. So although Rose Tattoo does offer walk-ins, I think that depending on the clients, depending on the location, you might find these things more than others. My final thoughts on cremation tattoos are, if you are going to get one, the tips that were told to me are normally the healing rate is successful as long as you get it in the line work, and only adding a very small, teeny tiny bit of ash to a tattoo in order to bring it together. I don't think this is a new concept. Like I said before, you know, I was familiar with it with body modification, and obviously it goes back to very ritualistic things. There was a time, you know, where I thought really heavily about, like, am I going to introduce some sort of element to my body? And I chose no. But I was thinking more or less, isn't this dangerous? When I was looking up cremation facts for the first time in my life, it said that ashes are sterile because they are heated to 1200 degrees Fahrenheit, and all of potential diseases are obviously like cooked and baked out. The only risk you may experience with all of this, from my research, said that it would be through the tattooing process and not from any bacteria in the cremation. While I was calling around shops, you know, one of the shops said that these tattoos are becoming more and more popular. And then when I called Rose Tattoo, they said, hey, this isn't a very popular request. So I'm not really sure if this is a growing phenomenon or something that is dying down, but I thought it would be something interesting to explore. I have another video similar to this about tattoos after you die, where they remove the tattoos from your actual skin and preserve that skin. Do you think this is very similar when we introduce death into our tattoos? I mean, how many of us have memento mori tattoos anyway? I think life and death has always been a significant theme in tattooing. But does it go beyond that when you introduce someone's actual dead remains into your tattoo ink? Like I said before, husband and wife, I'll never understand how that feels, so I can't tell you what I would do with those ashes, but I leave the question up to you guys. Would you ever get it done? A pet, you know, a significant other? I have one more question though, and it would be, would there be a way to take other natural elements and include those in your tattoos as well? What if you had a favorite place on earth that you know you could never go back to? What if there was a mountain that you climbed to the tippy top? Is there any way that you could get ashes of those elements and incorporate those into a mountain tattoo? Who knows? I think that the possibilities are endless, and as always, tattoos hold so much significance to us that there's always this desire and demand to make them more and more memorable and sentimental to us. So I think that You know, like the sound recording tattoo, like preserving the skin, even getting tattoos that commemorate somebody. I think grieving and significance is so hard for us to digest as people that we try to reach and find these ways to celebrate life beyond death. Let me know how you feel. What other memorial methods do you think are going to come into tattoo culture in order to celebrate death or life? Would you get one of these tattoos? Do you know anyone who's ever gone through with it? In my life, I don't know a single person. All I could do was call these shops, and basically they all said yes. Let me know in the comments down below. If it is your first time here, definitely feel free to subscribe. Check out the playlist down below for previous episodes of Tattoo Talk Tuesday. I make videos like this every single Tuesday. Give this video a thumbs up, and until next time, I'm literally sitting here with my blankie. I love you guys. Bye.